Thank you, Regina. So in therapy, as I remember, we were keeping our focus on the pain that the client was talking about. We kept bringing the client back to that suffering place. That's how I learned therapy, anyway. And you would it was called keeping your finger on the pain. The same with spiritual direction. You kept your finger on the pain that the client was describing. And you didn't collude. You were compassionate, but you didn't collude with the story. You more focused on the suffering. And hopefully you got to the root cause of that, which always is traced in our past. So I won't go any more into that because this isn't about therapy. But so last week's sharing was about sharing the core of the ego, and the core it's a narcissistic core in each one of us. You've heard some people are narcissistic personality disorders. That's a label that's given by therapists to a certain type of individual that refuses, not that refuses, their makeup is just too I hope I can say this because it's an amazing thing. What happened to those individuals is at birth they experienced the rejection of the mother. So the mother never was connected with that baby. The mother never held the baby or extended any kind of embrace, loving embrace, and so forth. And of course, it happened because she had her own history of being rejected. Now, these are people that live in the world without being able to, they cannot look at their weaknesses at all. They have formed such a defense system that it's impenetrable, and we all know people like this. They can't ever see that they have actually been responsible for anything that is painful in another. So they lack empathy. They're unable to see that they've caused suffering, or that they're responsible. Their behavior has created they don't see that they're at all responsible. And we have, in our politicians today, we have our perfect examples of this type of personality disorder. However, if we all go to the core of our own ego system, that's what we will find. We will find a narcissistic ego. Now, we are not that ego, but that's what's at the core of guilt and suffering. It's a continual projection onto the outer world of the darkness we don't want to own. So we use other people, we use situations, we use our body, we use figures in history, politicians, to hold those shadow parts of ourselves. And the very first step in undoing the ego is to begin to see that we have this split inside of us. We have a persona and we have a shadow. And the persona walks around in the world being good. Okay? It's like everything the persona does is to maintain this sense of I'm perfect, I'm good, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. See how innocent I am? And then the shadow gets put on the world, others. It gets put on bosses, mothers, friends, work situations. It gets put on the body, the body. So here we are, and this is where all of us start our work. We have this mind that's, I'm good, I'm innocent, and I don't want to see the shadow. I don't even own it. I'm going to put it on Erna. I'm going to ask her to hold that. She doesn't know it, but I'm going to see her in a certain way that holds a shadow part of myself. And then every time I see her, it's safe. It's over there. She's carrying it. So Erna might have one piece, and then Mickey might have another piece of the shadow that I don't want to own. And then Gabriella will have one more part of it. And then Connie can have another part, and then Regina can have another part. And I do that, and I keep them as my friends. I don't tell them that I am judging them. And I hold this good girl right here. I'm good. I'm innocent. It's that one over there that's the problem. So this is where we all begin our journey. And what the teachings here are asking us to do is to stop splitting ourselves like that. To stop making this good girl and making everybody else bad. And I would like to read to you an email that I received this week from somebody that made a huge breakthrough. And I think I sent it to all of you. Let's see. Oh, you all got another one. Okay. So I'm going to read this, and I'm going to take out any information about her. She's somebody that I know, and we had time together this week, and just listen to what happened, what she did with this. So this is what she says. The pointings that you gave me led me to a day filled with marinating in the truth and forgiveness. I started with my family, and it grew and grew and grew until I felt like I was on the stage with 5,000 people, forgiving them all for using them and judging them. It was monumental to forgive people I have judged who I don't know, and people who I never met that I looked at and judged. And it was very cathartic. Then I forgave my 3 children for using them. That in itself was very revealing and freeing. I realized I used my daughter as a parent. I used my first son to project my anger onto, and I used my youngest son to love me. I asked for their forgiveness and told them I set them free and not to feel responsible for me anymore. Wow, how I have used them for my selfish reasons! Exclamation point. And then I went over my brother's story with the 7 key principles. And even though it doesn't feel cleared yet, I'm still holding him in the light and working on trusting God to bring his highest best to him and his highest best to me. I asked him to forgive me for having to play out this horrific scene to assist me in my waking up. I had so many insights. Okay. So this is a huge piece of freeing up that happened for this friend of mine. And what she saw was how this is the next layer of undoing the ego. She no longer is satisfied with the secret of I'm good and everybody else has a problem. And she saw 5,000 people on her stage. What she saw was what we all do all the time, if we're honest. If we can just be honest, we will see that our mind is continually judging, throwing shadow material onto everyone. You know what? We don't want to see that, though, because we're afraid we're guilty. We're afraid of the punishment of all that we think we've done in that. It feels like we're sinning constantly. And so, just like the person with the narcissistic personality disorder, we don't want to see what we do with our mind every day. Now, the important piece here is it's not a sin. This is what an innocent person does before they start awakening. When a person has no teachings about the ego mind and the split mind, they think that the only way to stay above the confusion of living in this world is to keep making themselves right and good and seeing other people as wrong and guilty. And you know, all we have to do is sit down with a family member or a friend who isn't on this path, and the conversation is continuous about what this person is doing that's wrong and how they could improve it, and how we could fix them if they would just take this course or read this book or do the 12 steps. You know, we're so good at deflecting the responsibility, or the better word for that is the accountability that I worked with last week. Accountability. So before I go any further, I want to open it up and see if anybody has anything to share, because I feel like there's a lot of interaction today that we're going to do, and a lot of looking inside to get into an exercise that will benefit us all. So where are you guys this week? I just wanted to kind of bring last week forward so that it would be, because both Erna and Connie weren't here, and and to kind of, make a bridge so that you could share where you are this week, what's been happening.
I just came off a vacation with my family. It's interesting you should say that. There were about 12 of us. And the way I project is they drink too much, they smoke, and they're noisy. They don't go to bed at night until early, the wee hours in the morning. And I was aware of what I was doing, and before I would cajole, I would point out how bad that is for their health and all that. And I refrained. And my granddaughter's 30, and I'm this year, she just turned 30, and I'm turning 80. There's 50 years between us. And so when she took a cigarette, she says, "I'm sorry, Grandma, but I just smoke once in a while." How did I get that across to her that I judged her for it? So one of my daughters says, "Oh, she doesn't judge anymore." And I said, "Emily, I just love you." And but then my son-in-law, one of them, they all drink beyond dinner. Like, I can't understand that. So I think that that's wrong, And one of them just overdid it. I mean, he just went over the top. But
just for you.
Yeah, just for me. But love him. That was the strange thing. I mean, it wasn't so much judging, but he really shouldn't be doing this, drinking all day and into the night. It's like that. So that's one. That's one judgment. I was not as bad, I must say, because even my daughters noticed that I was not quite as into preaching. Then the other thing is, I looked at this Genesis that you sent out.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my pet peeve is non-inclusive language, At the very top, the fifth, it's God and Son of God. It's like, what? So I need help with that one particularly, because it just, I don't know what that is. Why that it's, I keep thinking, I grew up with that kind of language. You get to thinking that males are superior to female, and maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know, but I don't want that to happen to my granddaughters. So that's all.
Thank you. I'm just sitting quietly because the word that comes to me that you said is, I didn't preach. As you recognized the projection in that. So you are awake. You're awake to what's happening. And the powerful thing about this is it's a choice then. And we'll go into that more. This is the place when when mindfulness looks at something and says, "Oh, I'm not asleep anymore. I can see I'm projecting. And I do want to get better." That's also in your sharing. And the better would be in the choice. You now are awake, so there's a choice. Before there was no choice. We just projected all of our stuff. And in the choice is asking, taking it to atonement, to that prayer, and saying something like this: Holy Spirit, somehow I am using my son-in-law to carry some of my shadow material. I'm not sure what it is. And I am open and willing, that first, I am willing to have you show me why he is performing like this for me. That's the power in the choice. And it's a courageous step to take. Where is it that I don't want to see some part of myself that he's demonstrating out there? Now, of course, you don't drink. So you say it can't be my shadow because I don't drink. But it is a shadow part that is hiding, and that's why it's so hard to see it. And it is a form of, probably a form of getting drunk, of numbing out. And that's where sometimes we need somebody to help us unpack these things. So we might say, I don't drink, but drinking, he's numbing himself out. He's starting in the morning and he's going through, and I'm so sad that he has to do that. Well, why? I don't know if this is, we would have to be talking together, but it might be that I see, oh, I'm doing such and such, and that numbs me out. So it's the same effect as my son-in-law, but I do something different. So then we get a big picture. We get to see all of these teenagers playing video games all day long. What are they doing? They're numbing themselves out, right?
Yes.
Or what do we used to see, women watching the soap operas every afternoon. They had to, in the United States, they would have to watch their particular soap opera. Some people are shopaholics, and they go out and they overspend their income, but it's numbing themselves out by getting something from the outside. So in one way or the other, we're drinking from the world to numb out. And once that is seen without any judgment at all, it's because you didn't judge your grandson. Your son-in-law. You loved him, and that means you can love yourself. Oh, I'm doing the same thing. And that's all that's needed. And then you just give it to the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, I would love to have this behavior of numbing out transformed. And then you sit with that intention. You just sit until you feel the light entering through you. And it's a beautiful bliss. And you know it's already done, that there's nothing more to do. So that's the richness of projection, when there's a choice which way to go. The other choice could be to worry about the son-in-law and to worry about all his drinking and what drinking can do. So that's, we have a path there. We have a choice. I can go over to the ego mind and create suffering and worry, or I can use that as insight into my own freedom and a prayer. to release that. And then you see, this is the secret of all of this, then your son-in-law won't have to drink like that anymore. You know, everybody in our life is presenting us with a freedom. And once we see that, you know, they have to show up that way until we get it, because life is a mirror. It's always a mirror. We can't turn this way or that way without looking at ourselves. And the biggest key here is no judgment allowed. No beating ourselves up when we see, oh my gosh, I've been numbing myself out. I don't want this behavior anymore. Whatever it is. So thank you, Erna. That's just a little bit of a practice to do with those things, because you do want to love. You do not want to use your son-in-law or Emily. And there's a place in you that takes a smoke every once in a while.
I know what it is. It's trying to be perfect.
Okay, well, whatever it is, it's innocent. It's totally innocent, and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got you on the big view here. Okay, anybody else want to share how they're catching projection in their life and what they've done with it? Miss Mickey.
Oh, Mickey, okay. Boy, I caught myself big time this week, to the point where I yelled at a friend of mine.
Woo!
Let me put it
Woo!
Woo! Let me put it this way: I didn't catch myself, but later on, I caught. You know, after the fact, I haven't gone back and apologized to her. But she projected, or I projected onto her my fear. Go figure. It's that fear thing again. She was going on and on about our president, who I refuse to even talk about. I'm so scared of him. And she said something, it hooked me so badly. She said, oh yeah, we're going to have to deal with him for 2 terms, at least, probably even 3, because he's going to change the laws so that he can be elected for a 3rd term. And I said, why are you even saying that? I just started screaming at her, don't say things like that to me. I can't stand it, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, finally I went off onto something else. And so later on, a few days later on, I realized, oh boy, you know, she really demonstrated my fear to me. And I'm not sure how to go through the process yet, but just this morning, I think I'm figuring it out after the things that you said, is that I have to forgive myself and her for my projecting my fears onto her like that. And ask for forgiveness, or
help. Ask for help.
Help in, you know. And another thing that she does is, that I realized as you were talking before, is, boy, I'm using her a lot. She complains constantly. You know, if it's every time I talk to her, if it's not one thing, it's another. And so clearly I'm projecting onto, and it bugs me. So clearly it's my projection that I'm putting onto her. You know, it's something that I used to do a lot, and I suppress it now.
Oh, good. That's a great word you're bringing up, Mickey. So suppress, we don't want to suppress, right?
Right. And so I would catch myself every time I was thinking about complaining about something and say, no, no, that's complaining. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's
So,
trying to be a good girl.
yeah, be a good girl. Don't
So that's the
complain.
holding up of that I'm good, and she's,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna protect this good image of myself no matter what.
right. People don't like that when you complain too much. So I'm going to let her do all the complaining. And so project all of that shadow side of me onto her.
Wow, this is beautiful, Mickey. Now this is, do you see that this is awakening?
Yeah.
And
Because I never would have taken responsibility for that
yeah,
before.
yeah,
It would always be, oh my God, she's so negative and she complains constantly. And, you know,
oh,
just
yeah,
today,
I do know.
over the last few days, I've been considering the possibility of taking responsibility for that. And, you know, I haven't figured out how to clear it yet, but
There isn't, that's a mistake. You won't clear it.
okay.
All you need to do is see it, feel badly that you're doing it to yourself, that you're creating so much fear, and project, and then feel badly that you're using her to hold.
Yeah,
And then
that's what I feel the most badly about is that I've been using her for so long to project those two.
honey, but it's not just her. You've been creating this guilt inside yourself every time you do that. And
Mhm,
it's just hidden. So be sorry for that too. It's
mhm.
creating separation between you and everyone. Every time we fear something, and I'm going to do an exercise on that today, we're creating a separation inside ourselves, and we start to hide, and we get smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah. So we want the real you to come forth, so you don't have to hide it.
I actually, so the last time I had a conversation with her, I got so twisted up about it that I started thinking, oh well, she's just too negative a person. I shouldn't have her as a friend anymore. And
You
that
won't
was
have her as a friend once you take care of this. Uh, Once you take care of your part, she will either change or
mhm,
she will fall away.
right.
So I can promise you that. Once you deal with the source,
Mhm.
it will not appear any longer in your field. If you did get rid of her, you would just get another friend to replace her.
Yep.
Okay? You
Mhm.
got it. Okay, thank you, Mickey, so much. That's great. Anybody else want to share? Yeah.
So yes, I was the last week. I was often with groups of yeah, I think between 5 and 10 people, and I feel that it's not easy to stay by me and don't come in this talking about the other people. You know, it's always have you seen her and have you seen this and this blah blah, and I don't like this any longer, and that's not easy for me to don't be catched
Yeah.
in talking, and then I sit all only and hear what they say, and I thought, oh, it's no speaking about herself or about the own things. It's only outside speaking, and
Yeah.
I think it's the same with the shadows.
It is. It's
There's so many people get the shadows out of the other. And
yeah.
so that's what I will say, that I feel this, and it's not easy to don't be catched in this system.
Well, again, you know, this catching and trying not to be catched, as you say, you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Okay.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to stay good. You see, so yeah, so let yourself be caught in it. Nothing's bad's going to happen. Let yourself look at how you judge them. Just, you know, sometimes we need an actual experience where we act out, you know, where we really see our mind and how it's also doing the same thing. It's using them. So don't try and be good. That just makes a split inside of you. We all have a shadow. We all have this. If we bring the split together, then that won't happen. But as long as there's a separation between what we think is good and what we think is bad, somebody has to carry it. Okay, so Connie, instead of trying to be good and not participate in the gossip, just notice what your judgments are.
Okay.
Just, you know, without making yourself wrong, just notice what the ego mind does. Notice how it picks people apart. In the email that I read earlier, she said 5,000 people. She could see a stage of 5,000 people that she was using. That's why I read that email, to just say, this is all of us. We use everyone all the time until we wake up. And the only way we can wake up is by seeing that we're using other people, not by maintaining our good self-image. And it doesn't mean you're bad if you judge. That's not being bad. That's what you can see there is you have a little forgiveness work to do with yourself, because there's a part of yourself here that is showing up as not being lovable. I keep referring to, we're going to do an exercise and later on that, and so keep this in mind when we do that exercise, okay? That what we do is, it's actually our own self-hatred that we're not aware of, that we're projecting outside of ourselves.
Okay. I understand.
And we all do it. I did it yesterday, you know, and had to pull myself back. There's really, there's no getting beyond it until it falls away. There's no work to do to suppress this. It will get lighter and lighter as you uncover these particular places of self-hatred in yourself, and as I uncover the particular places of self-hatred in me. So all of us need to do this work in order to be happy, to be free. So all these people that you saw, you know, whatever they were hating or in somebody else, you can just look at how you hated them for being that way. I hate it when Sally is projecting all of her shit on Ilona, you know. I think that's terrible, and I don't want a friend like her anymore. It makes me so uncomfortable when she keeps doing that. Well, okay, then we go, whoops, I must be projecting my judgment on her. I'm judging her for judging someone else.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to get angry at myself for doing that. I'm just going to go, whoops, there's that ego mind. And it's so I need to forgive myself for using whatever her name was. And then I'll forgive her for being that way. And I'll see that she's innocent. She doesn't know any better.
Mhm.
Her mother did that. Her grandmother did that. Her great-grandmother did that. You know, we have people in our group who, we just had an experience yesterday of a fellow who, he lives in another part of the world, and he came to the retreat here in New Mexico, and then he went on to visit his family for 3 weeks, who he never sees because he lives so far away. And he was describing the very same thing. No matter how much work he had done, he was just saying all he sees is their lostness, their busyness, and how uncomfortable, he said how uncomfortable it was for him to be with them. But his real work is, he has some work to do. I don't know if that helped you or not, but we just have to keep doing this. We just have a pop-on visitor, Sarah. She's just a pop-up. Should we let her stay? This is another friend of ours, Sarah. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're working with Connie. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. Okay, so Connie, does that help at all? I mean, I don't think it did at all, did it? What I said.
Sorry, if it helped me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It did? It did. I got confused in that, so.
No, it helped me. Now
Okay.
I can see it better.
Thank you, Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
Okay. So even if you still want to share, I feel like I want to go forward unless there's somebody with something really pressing that they want to share from last week. Can I go forward with today's? Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get the gallery view so I can see you all. So this is an exercise, and if you are wanting to do this during the week, it would be really rich and helpful. And what we're going to do is look at what forms of punishment do I use to attack myself. That's one thing. So does it use my body? What things in my life does it use to prove to me that I am a sinner, that I have sinned and I need to be punished? So we're trying to uncover the hidden guilt in our mind. Now, anytime we see somebody outside of ourselves, we think they're guilty of sinning. And that's why we judge them. But they're really a part of ourself. So it goes right back like a boomerang. You know what a boomerang is? We throw the judgment out, and well, where does it land? It attacks us back. So just keep that in your mind. Any judgment that goes out, whether it's towards my body, to another person's body, to their behavior, whatever it is, it's going to boomerang back and attack me. That you can be sure of. And what it is, it will come back as I'm guilty. But we don't want to see it, so we hide it. We stuff it underneath somewhere and keep projecting outward. Another thing besides punishment is self-judgment. It's the favorite sin of the ego. And here are the symptoms. Here's how you can tell if you have, if you're experiencing self-judgment. You know how we get this voice inside ourselves that starts to go after us? I would use the word abuse. It's the abuser in the mind. And here are some of the symptoms. Anxiety, confusion, unworthiness. How many times do we hear each other say, I don't feel worthy to be forgiven? What I did was so awful. Weight gain or fear of weight gain. Sickness. And I mean catching a cold, getting a headache. Maybe your back goes out. That's my Achilles heel. It's something physical, something physical. Or sometimes you feel so angry and you're not even aware of it and you cut your finger or you burn your hand in the oven, taking something out. Or an emotional pain. Well, what's an emotional pain like? It's not a physical pain, but it could be tiredness, exhaustion, a feeling of dullness, disinterest in life, just not wanting to do anything. Now, another a symptom would be scarcity. If you don't feel you're enough, these are the boomerangs, that this is how the boomerang attack is showing back up in you. Or maybe there's a financial scarcity in your life. One of my big ones is a lack of energy, physical energy. I want to have more energy, and I get really scared if I don't have energy. Well, that's actually an attack. And I never put that together before. When I'm lacking energy, I'm feeling weak, and somehow I've attacked myself unconsciously. Depression. When we go through a short period of depression or a longer period of depression, this is, it's anger at yourself. And then conflict. If we have conflict with somebody, even if it's Donald Trump, it's conflict. And then the final one, which will shock everybody, is death. Death. Yeah. The fear of death. The thought that death is real and that it's going to happen. Now, that's a big attack thought. As soon as we get afraid. We have this saying in English, oh my God, you scared me to death. You know, stop scaring me to death, right, Mickey? You stop talking about Trump. You're scaring me to death. So if we have an unforgiven belief that overeating is a sin, anybody here think that overeating is sinful? And if you don't, then use overdrinking. Okay. Yeah. If we hold that belief that it's sinful, then we'll believe that we should be punished if we overeat or if we overdrink. Yeah? I have some friends that worry about having a glass of wine at night. And I used to be one of them. I used to think I was an alcoholic, you know. And and so I should punish myself, right? I need to take myself down to Alcoholics Anonymous immediately and confess my sinfulness and start looking at all the places that I have harmed people. In that case, it's called overvigilance. It's an attack. Now, if a person really is overdrinking, that's different. But in my case, my vigilance about that, I turned myself into Alcoholics Anonymous one night in the winter in Cincinnati, and they looked at me and they said, "Go home. You're not an alcoholic." You know, but I was attacking myself. This is the point here, not me being an alcoholic or not, because that doesn't matter. I was attacking myself with the belief that having 2 glasses of wine needs to be punished, that I'm bad. Now, we do this with different aspects of our life. How many of you have purchased a dress or an item and then felt guilty that you needed to punish yourself after you made that purchase? Only me? You know, it's like, oh my God, I never should have spent that money because I have a belief that I am in lack. This is a self-attack over and over again. I'm giving you examples to stir the soup here. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to give you an exercise, and we're going to do it out loud first, and then I want you to continue it if you feel called to at home. It's to review the figures throughout history who have supposedly sinned. Let's do this openly. Who in history do we believe has been a sinner, has openly sinned? Let's name some of them, and let's begin with Hitler. I think we can all agree he's a big sinner. Let me unmute everybody here so you can jump in with some names of other people that you believe have sinned.
Saddam Hussein.
Okay.
Who?
Saddam Hussein,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Iraq.
Does somebody want to write these down in the chat room?
Sure, I'll do it.
If you want to, Mickey, and I'll save the chat this time. I forgot to save it last time.
Okay.
Okay, so how do I save chat?
I'm not sure if I'm spelling him right, but
Doesn't matter. We don't care. So Hussein, and the other one was
Hitler.
Hitler,
Stalin.
Trump,
Yeah.
Stalin, okay.
Tito.
Tito,
Pinochet. Oh, Titi. Can you correct it?
so what about people like, yeah, the people that used the Negroes as slaves?
Who's that?
The Spanish that used the Negroes as slaves and did slave trading, and make it personal, make it somebody that you really can't stand in history, that you really feel has done a great harm to. Well, I think, Erna, you already made one, the patriarchy.
Yes.
So let's use the patriarchy, the church. We could say the Catholic Church, that and all those cardinals and bishops that deny women equality.
Yeah, and the abuses in the church.
Children.
The sexual predators in the church. So we think they've sinned. Let's keep going. This is a juicy one. Erna, yours is so good because you've already pinpointed that it triggers you. You know, this Son of God language.
Or all language that's supposed to be inclusive but uses sexist language.
Are there any women in history who have sinned?
Imelda Marcos.
Yeah.
What did she do?
Both the Marcoses were, they hoarded money. They stole money from their government and they hoarded it. But Imelda was very famous for having something like over 3,000 pairs of shoes.
So, Mickey, write a little script next to that, hoarding money and shoes. And I think Ivanka Trump would fall in that category too, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
But we're not so sure she's sinful until we see that she's using the Chinese and cheap labor, and we think that's terrible, the wages that they pay those Chinese in sweatshops.
Mm-hmm.
So put beside these characters what they're actually guilty of. That will be helpful.
I don't know if I can go back and edit. I haven't been able to figure that out.
Don't worry that out. Don't worry. Just keep going.
All right.
So what's Trump responsible for? What's his problem? Why is he sinful?
Greed.
Greed. Okay. Anybody else have any sin they can lay on Trump?
Sexism.
Sexism. What does that mean, Erna?
That he demeans women.
He does what with women?
Demeans them.
Demeans them. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
He doesn't respect other people, I think.
Respect.
And we find that sinful to not respect people.
He did not really respect anybody, or he does not.
Yeah. So he lacks respect for the immigrants, for
Racism.
Yeah.
And even for his colleagues, as when he was in Germany now, I think the way. So that's
What was that last one, Regina? What was that last one?
I said not respecting the poor and the people they coming from other countries, and also his colleagues if he is in different countries. I mean, yeah.
So now let's take a jump. I want you to know that you can do this later on, but let's go to a harder one. And this is going to ask us all to be courageous and honest, and what we put in here will help everybody.
Yeah.
In my own history, who or what has sinned, in my view? It could be a person, it could be our body, it could be an institution, it could be myself or God. In other words, who or what have I not forgiven completely? Write down each one that comes to mind. So let's begin with, and let's say who it is and what they've done. Now, I'm going to pull up one from my past that I had to work on and share it to begin with, because I want to support you all. I had a belief that my younger brother, who has a few $1 million, should have given me some money when I needed it a few years ago. And I was very triggered that he said no. And so I felt like that he was really wrong in how he handled his money. That that he easily could have. I wasn't asking him to totally give it to me. I was willing to pay interest or whatever on it when my house foreclosed. But I held the belief that he was wrong, and that's sin. So I said, my brother David, in my belief system, he should have helped me out because he has plenty of money. So I had to do work on that before I came to his total innocence and my arrogance at thinking he should have helped me. So it would be my brother David and his miserliness with his money that I would put down. That just popped into my mind. I don't know why. That's just one of my old ones. But if we can share openly, it will affect. I could just see that hit you, Sarah. So, we help each other when we bring these up. And we help each other by not feeling so alone. And we help each other to recognize things that are hidden. So,
I have.
Yeah, I mean, I had this thing going with my father, not protecting me, not seeing me. And this belief I kept all my life made him very bad.
So your father sinned, and his sin was not protecting you and not
abusing me.
abusing you. So he's a sinner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else?
My ex-husband.
Your ex-husband. Okay.
Physically and verbally.
He physically and verbally abused you. He's a sinner. Okay, Sarah.
My first husband, I supported him, and he became famous and extremely wealthy. And I've been carrying this notion that he should give me some of his money.
Good. He's a sinner. He is the bastard. You should give us all some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, keep going. This is good.
My mother preferring my brothers.
Oh man, she was such a bitch. Yeah, that's real sinfulness with a child when the mother prefers one or two children over you. That's thank you. Mickey.
My mother for verbally and emotionally abusing me.
Wow. Sick. Totally sick, right? That a mother
Mhm.
would do that to her child.
Yep. Mean as a snake.
Oh. Hey, Connie, you've got something here.
Yeah. I think about yeah, my parents had not enough time for me, I thought.
So you were neglected.
Sorry?
You were neglected.
Yes.
Yeah. Connie's parents neglected her. Okay. Let's bring up something about the body.
Yeah, this is my mother. My mother never accepted me as a with my body. I never was right. I always was too fat. I always was not sporty. I didn't do. There was always I ate too much. Even I didn't get anything. So I had this with my body the whole life.
So
Because
your mother, we're going to blame your mother for the hatred of your body.
Yeah.
Good. Get her.
I add mine to her.
So these mothers are going to get it now.
Yeah. So it was like she was like Regina's mom. She's never been contented with my body. I had to eat diet pills, at the age of 12. So I'm what you two, Regina, didn't you? And it started all out with my brothers calling me fatty. So it's like, yeah.
So these are the sins against us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
These are the sins that we feel they deserve punishment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you punish your mother for sinning against you, or your ex-husband, or your, how did we punish them?
I hated her all my life.
Mm-hmm.
How did that look, Regina?
I reacted. I didn't like what she told me.
How did you react? Show us the face.
Well, when she was gained weight and she told me that she's gained weight, I said, well, you always told me don't eat so much. So I was really giving it back to her. Yeah.
Good. Verbally abused her, or
yeah.
anybody else. How do you treat your parents that neglected you, Connie?
I'm not sure if I'm on the right way, but I feel at the moment that I go in my own world or go into me and don't let her know what I do and who I am. I closed my door.
I do that too.
Yes,
Yeah. I didn't even let my mother know when I got my period. It was my form of punishing her.
Yes, I don't let you know nothing.
Right. It's like we're complete. We withhold anything from them.
Yeah. And I was always very angry.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
You won't see a face.
Yeah. You don't want to give her any kind of joy or happiness.
Yes. Only
misery.
Yes.
Yeah. Just give that mother misery and shut her out completely.
Yeah.
Can you see? Can you see how this is?
Yes.
Yeah. How did you punish your ex-husband, Erna?
I distanced myself. In my heart, I really hated him, and I couldn't look at him even.
Uh-huh.
Just no friendliness, just he always came to family gatherings. And I just...
Cold.
Cold, yeah. Cold is good.
Cold. Okay.
Mm.
Have any of you felt at war with your bodies? That your bodies just were not behaving right? And did you use forms of violence to bring your bodies under control? Like me, I did. You know, what does that mean? I know you're not sure what that means. Okay.
I scratched myself.
Yeah, so Regina would scratch parts of her dig.
Yeah.
Dig. Okay.
Place. Yeah.
I think I don't eat enough.
So you starve yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Sarah.
When I'm very upset, I make myself vomit.
Good. Okay. Just throw it up. Anybody else? This is violence. This is a form of violence acted out upon the body.
Well, that's when I end up eating chocolate bars, you know.
So you eat chocolate
That's when
bars.
yeah. So when I'm angry or frustrated or something, I start eating sweet stuff.
And then what happens?
Afterwards, I feel guilty, you know, because I have eaten. I shouldn't have, you know. But at that point, I needed it, and afterwards, I'm telling myself off.
So it's not the food that you're eating. It's that you're using the food to make yourself feel guilty, and then you're hurting yourself with your thinking. Guilty thinking. Inner abuse, self-abuse. Okay, so what about, do you have any friends that you still have, you haven't forgiven them for something that they did? There's still a separation between you and that friend. Even though you continue with the relationship in one way or another, there's still a gap. You won't trust them again because you're asking them to hold a sin.
I have a friend. We were together, she and her husband, and I and my husband at Ohio State, and then they moved down here. And when I was getting a divorce, I had to initiate it, and they were totally against it. They were so Catholic that, you know, you shouldn't get divorced no matter what the relationship is like. And so because the divorce was contested, my ex-husband took me to court several times, and they became his witnesses. I couldn't believe it because I was so close to them. It still hurts at times, and they've moved away, and I've stayed in touch, but you know, it was never the same again. It's like I still can't quite forget that.
So that's a pearl. You want to make sure this week that you spend some time with that, okay? You don't have to do anything with them, but
right,
with what's left in your mind holding that sin against them.
Okay.
I have a few of those, and I realize we need to go back through our own history and we need to comb it for this sort of thing. Not to be afraid of it at all, because actually what you're doing is you're gathering back your pearls of freedom, and you're putting your heart back together. I had a friend that I was renting from a few years ago, and she just went ballistic on me one night and told me I had to get out because she couldn't stand to think of me in the house in the winter because it was so cold. And she was just so upset. And I had thought I was staying in the house so that money was supporting them. You know, I was doing my caretaking thing. Anyway, she left on a vacation the next day. She just went, she told me that's what her mother did to her on her wedding day, by the way. But she ranted on about that, and I just sat there in her living room, and I left ice cold. I left ice cold, and I packed my house up and got out of there within 5 days. That's the kind of anger I had towards what she did. I felt she had really wronged me. And so I found another place, and I was actually gone when they came back from their vacation. That's called a fuck you response. We never worked that out. She wanted to work that out with me, and I said no. I just couldn't go there. I see today I need to go back and pick that up because it's still an open wound in my psyche. So this is what I'm encouraging us all to do this week, is to find any friend that we think has sinned against us, or brother, family members, that we've kind of pushed it under the carpet. And we've said, oh, everything is okay. I'm not seeing them anymore, so I don't need to go back and look at that. It's not that important. And what I'm saying is, this is a time bomb waiting to go off inside of you, of self-attack, that's just laying low for now, but it will bite someday if we don't take care of it, in the form of guilt, tremendous guilt and self-attack. So during this week, comb your life, comb your history for the events. Ask the Holy Spirit's help, of course, and just sit down and say, where is it that I need to see how I'm holding other people responsible for my suffering? How am I holding them as the cause of some past suffering in my life? Who is it that I still am allowing to carry a part of my own stuff? And I'll make that much easier for you, I hope, if I just go back to my brother, and if I go back to that situation a few years ago where I asked him if I could borrow some money, some of his millions of dollars. So when I did my work around that, the first thing I did was I saw that I had used David. I had made him look like he had more than me, that he had more power than me, that he had more money than me. So I made him bigger than me. And I made it that he should take care of me because I'm in a situation where I'm in lack. So that was my thinking at the time. And first of all, my thinking is not accurate. David is not any more powerful than I am. I'm using the fact that he has more money to make him separate from me and able to do something that I can't do for myself. So I looked at his money, and I looked at his life and his millions of dollars, and I've been working on this theme for a while. I saw that I made a choice not to have money. I made an unconscious choice to never have money in my life because I didn't want to be responsible for having money. And I didn't want to have to pay the government or take care of people. I actually wanted to live what I call it under the radar, so that I wouldn't have to deal with government agencies. I did the same thing with not getting a license as a therapist, so that I wouldn't have to deal with the red tape, and I wouldn't have to pay for insurance and things like this. And my reason for not making money was to keep myself free. This is an ego trick. But I had to come to see that I was using not having money the same way my brother is using money. I just went the other way. He's using his $1 million to be safe, and I'm using my lack of $1 million to be safe. Do you guys understand that?
Yes.
And in that, I could completely forgive him and forgive myself. Oh my God, what a nut I am. You know, what a nitwit. And so then I could change that belief that was hiding. And I could see I'm just as capable of making $1 million if I want to, as David is. If that was my deepest goal in life, then everything I did would be to create money. And I could do it. There's no problem there. I'd play the stock market, I would do research, whatever it was, that would be what I did. So David is no longer sinful because he and I are doing the same thing in a different way. And both of us are doing it out of fear. So I can definitely forgive David and be very compassionate to him because he doesn't understand, like I do, that he's motivated by fear all the time. And that's why he has to hold on to that money, because he thinks that's his safety. And he's worried if I even send him a $12 supplement, that I would spend some money on him. You know, he can't receive anything either, because he sees me as lacking too. The fear goes both ways. He can't give and he can't receive. And he cannot understand how in God's name I'm still surviving in this world. It's a mystery to him because he knows I've never made any money. How is that possible? So actually, I'm a little bit threatening to him around money. And once I see this whole picture, a lot more comes into my view. And a lot more compassion for not only him, but the whole world that is so frightened to not have money. They don't know that money is not important. And you can either have it or not have it, you'll still be taken care of. It's really no big deal. But at that time, I didn't know that, and I thought that money would have helped me. So you go through each one of these things and you see the sin that you've projected onto the other, and then you can see it also is self-hatred towards yourself. It's still alive. It's like a cancer in the mind that's still active. And so you do want to handle it. You do want to bring the atonement prayer to it. I did a crazy thing the other day, and I looked at it. I'm encouraging you guys to get really clear. That's what I'm doing. So the other day I had a pop-up on my screen, on my Facebook screen. Facebook has these pop-ups. And there was this pop-up about this woman that had lost 32 pounds taking Garcinia Cambogia and apple cider vinegar. And I went, oh, that's cool. I wonder if I have some. I went and I looked in my vitamins, and I didn't. I think at one time I might have, I don't know, maybe it was chondroitin or something. And you could get a free sample if you ordered it. So that's a hidden self-hatred there, okay? Popping up in that moment. And if I look at that temptation, it's saying to me, you still hate your body fat, Judith. You still think that there's something wrong with your belly fat. You still don't like this body. You're still trying to control it and change it and make it different. And this is just another word for self-hatred. And how do I feel when I look at myself and see myself as being a belly fat person with a fat belly? Well, I feel shame. So the hidden shame comes up to the surface, and I say, I have something to deal with here, and it's not my belly. It's my belief that my body should be different than it is. And it's my belief that if I ate differently or did anything differently, that I would then love my body more. That's a lie. My body is holding a piece of my self-hatred. And if it wasn't, my body, my self-hatred would land somewhere else until I've dealt with it. It's a relationship that has a gap in it, that has some punishment waiting. It's a relationship holding a sin, the sin of guilt. And for me, that was my little thing the other day with that ad that came up. Bingo. Oh, it's free too. You see, it's free. You could have that, and then you could lose 32 pounds of belly fat, and then, da-da-da, all your clothes would fit, and you would look like you were 40 years old again. I mean, you all know this. I know you do. Yeah. So this is how we do it to our body. We make these little adjustments. And if it isn't your body, it's some part of you that you're unhappy about. If it isn't body, go ahead, Erna.
I just came to an insight that all the things I complain about or has to do with feeling like a victim.
Uh-huh.
As a child, of course, I went through wartime experiences and I was a victim. But it played itself out over time. Like with that divorce, I was a victim. In the marriage, I was a victim. In that relationship with my friend, I felt like a victim.
Yeah.
And as far as the sexist language, I feel like a victim. It's like that's the theme. That's the theme throughout.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who is the victimizer?
I am.
The mind. Yeah. The mind that chooses that thinking. Yeah. And when you're a victim, how do you feel?
ashamed of myself, bad about myself.
So there's the self-hatred. That's the
And fear. Fear is great. Fear is just enormous.
yeah. So these are the attacks. When we say attack, this is attack. And what does it attack? Who's being attacked?
I'm attacking myself.
Who is
My
that?
ego.
Who is that self that you're attacking? Describe her.
My beautiful self, my innocent self.
Your innocent self. Let's join. Let's join right now. I just heard to join right here. And let's go with Erna right here into this innocent self, okay? Just fall in there. And as Erna is seeing this so perfectly here, it's for all of us to see. Oh, I'm so sorry I would ever attack my innocent self. And then just relax and let the Holy Spirit take over. Nothing to do. Just allow the light to bathe through you. So stay with me while I talk to you, but stay in this presence. What Erna is calling the innocent self is an illusion. But as long as we think we have attacked ourselves, we feel bad. And so right now, Christ is stepping forward as the innocent self, as the true self in the center of each one of us. And Christ is saying, I was never attacked. I am complete and whole in each one of you. I am the source which has never been touched or tainted by these ego attacks. All of you are completely healed by this knowledge. All of you will be freed when you come to see the truth in this. I am the source of light and love waiting in the center of each of your hearts, and I have never been harmed. I am the Son of the Father. Nothing can harm me. And I come to you to reveal this truth to you today. Each of you is a child complete and whole, equal to the Christ, the Son of God. Nothing can ever have harmed you. But the dream convinces you and holds you in guilt and separation. And I invite you to wake up from that dream. You have never committed a sin. There has only been error in your thinking when you have chosen the ego mind over the Christ mind. So I invite you to choose again today to be in truth and free from all these dark experiences held in the ego mind. Now just continue sitting and let the light of this Christ consciousness wash through you. Thank you so much for joining, everybody.
Thank you.
Just being here, looking at each other completely in this light. Yeah, it's very powerful. Does anybody have anything that they want to share right now? You were kind of cut off there, Erna, by that flood that came through. Do you feel finished?
Yes, at first, I was ready to cry, but then with the prayer, it was really a deep experience. This realization, that it all. So the prayer helped a lot, the joining. So I thank each one of you and you, Judith, especially.
Well, what just happened was a complete takeover by the Holy Spirit that stopped everything and just in that moment was working. And I suspect we all were, I'm feeling myself having received still a tremendous amount of light. I feel like I'm in a huge column of light right now. So is there anybody else that feels the effects of that joining? Regina?
Yeah, I cannot say much, but it feels very peaceful inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. The light is the light and peace inside. Yeah.
You too, Connie.
Yes, the light. I feel the light to come through the body, and then I feel it. I can let it go and be not so. Yeah, I feel it's open, or with the light. The light come to the body. So that was my feeling.
Yeah.
And to be connected with you all. That I feel it too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very powerful, isn't it?
Yes,
What happens when we join?
Yes, it is.
So imagine that you walked around like this all day long. Imagine you're at school, or you're on your family vacation, or you're on your biking trip, or you're with your friend and she's talking about Trump, or whatever we've talked about. Just imagine that this was where we were, though. How would it be different? How would our lives be different if this was where we spent most of our time, in this consciousness? You've heard the story where people say an elephant could walk through the room and it wouldn't bother me right now. This consciousness is a consciousness beyond the battleground. It's beyond duality. Those of us that have entered into this is the Christ consciousness, which can only be present as love and acceptance of everything. It has no judgment. It abides in peace. And in that, what's been pointed out to us and given to us today is an experience of the Christ consciousness within each one of us. And we've been told that this has never, ever been harmed in any way, that it's fully present and complete and whole. And we've been invited to leave the ego mind and to choose this, that this is what's real. And when Christ said, be in the world, but not of the world, this is what we were being shown, is how to be in the world, but not of the world, not of that judgment, not of that duality of the ego and projection. It's like, could you possibly judge anybody from this consciousness? You can hardly think. You can hardly talk from this place. The mind gets very still and open here. And when you go into judgment, you get contracted and you get very separated. But if you're in this space still, which I'm talking from, there's no contraction anywhere. It is powerful, it is strong, it's as strong as a mountain, as peaceful as a mountain, just standing still. And this place has never been harmed or touched in any one of us. We just have to be convinced to make the choice to move into this kind of consciousness. And it will happen as we pay attention to those places where we get triggered and we get called off, where we get trumped. It's a good bridge word, where we get trumped. No fear can possibly be present here. It cannot enter. It's a solid field of love and freedom. There's not even a speck of fear that could enter this fortress. And this is who you are. This is the truth of who you really are. You are this powerful consciousness, but you got talked out of it. And you got told you were Joey Smith with the red hair and the freckles. You know, that's never been who you are. We are a circle of divine beings today, gathering in truth. And the power that's going forth, the light, is unmeasurable from this meeting today. Many are being affected by the joining. And there are many here that are invisible who are attending this. And they are the ones that we have the closest connections with, that are open to us, who haven't shut us out. And they are the living and the dead. And so we want to acknowledge all of those who are present in body and without body. and thank us all for joining, because what has happened here today is a greater joining has come together. And I want you to envision quickly, if you have children, all of your children. If you have friends that you love, bring them in. If you have pets that you have loved in the past and present, bring them in. The children that we are teaching in the school systems, Gabriella's school systems, are all here, open and receiving. Sarah's beautiful children and her friends are all here, joined with her. All of the people that we have ever touched who hold us as friends from our entire lifetime are present now, receiving this blessing, because they have stayed in our field. Whether we've been through a hard time with them or not, it's all okay right now. Everything is forgiven. Let no enemy be held away. Let no friend carry a sin any longer in our field. Let us free them all with this blessing. Any ex-boyfriends, husbands, mothers, fathers, from this beautiful heart of power and strength, from this Christ consciousness, we receive each one of you. Come home, come back, and be filled with this blessing and joy. Any children that have been aborted, bring them in today. Anybody that you feel that you have hurt and can't forgive yourself, bring them here today and let the forgiveness be complete. Any place that you're still holding as unworthy, any action that you feel you have taken that you feel great shame about, bring it in and let it all be transformed. Nothing has ever harmed the Christ in you or anyone else. Nothing you have ever done that you think was so terrible has ever harmed the Christ in anyone else. Let it all be freed up right now and forgiven completely. All broken friendships are restored. All estranged relationships are healed. Our bodies are healed as our minds are healed. And so I just feel to go more and say the prayer that may all those attacks be dismissed today. And that the only thing that is left is this Christ consciousness in all of us. The only thing that's real. Amen, brother. Amen, sister. And if you don't feel it, don't worry about it. It's done. I see a little dark Connie. No, she's gone. There she is, lighting up her room. Okay, let's unmute everybody here. And just take a few minutes to sign off, say hi, goodbye, and anything else you want to add to it before we leave.
I just want to say thank you. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank.
Bitteschön, danke auch.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for popping in. We needed you here.
Thank you for allowing me. Nice to meet everyone. I just want to
you.
tell you that I could feel the Christ speaking through you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you.
My prayer for today. Thank
mm,
you so much. Love you.
mwah. Holy, holy, holy friends, my beloved sisters, let's just grab Wyatt and Brooke
Mhm. And Lisa.
and Lisa and bring them in here and give them a big hug and just shake them a little bit and say, we love you too, guys. You're with us. Okay. So thanks for this. It was so powerful for me. I'm blown away today. Whew.
Ooh.
So we'll see who shows up next week.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful Christ sisters.
You.
Bye, Mickey. I love you.
Bye. Love you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Can't end, but I will. 1, 2, 3, go.